atmosphere is filled with dramatic moments, whether it's the launching of manifestos, mergers of political parties, such as the DA and AGANG fallout. Just today, the DA is marching to Luthuli House. And this morning we are joined by Professor Susan Booysen. Now, she's a political analyst and a senior lecturer at Wits University. Good to have you. Thanks so much for being with us here on Morning Live. Your immediate reactions. I mean, what do you make of what just happened with DA and AGANG?
It was just such an amazing political spectacle of what we think have been, say, seasoned politicians, clear strategic visions going in, and they gave new definitions to shooting themselves in the foot. Political suicide, the descriptions just boggled the mind. And I think both Helen Zille and Mampela Rampele have really suffered immense damage. In the same way too, hasn't been a good week for opposition politics in South Africa, at least where the main thrust has been assumed to be. On the other side, there is the EFF. They are sailing just below the surface, and they are actually doing more things right than what we've seen from Helen Zille and Mampela Rampele.
Wow, that's it's hard to swallow, especially when you look at somebody like Helen Zille, who, you know, leading the opposition party here in South Africa. Let's talk about how both of the leaders handled this. I know that we've got some clips actually from the press conferences that were held yesterday. So we had Rampele Mampele, who was giving her views, and then there was Helen Zille, who was giving her views. Have we got them, Johanna? Are we going to play those clips? No. All right, we won't play them right now. But you saw it.
Yes.
How did you think they both handled it? What was your interpretation?
If only those two worlds could meet. Countering each other, contradicting each other, and it really didn't make a good impression. And saying how one has reneged, the other one said, but I wasn't part of that. We saw Mampela Rampele being part of the initial media briefing a week ago today, and she was very much part of it. But she had underestimated her party, and the fact that she wasn't actually anymore a one-person party. And then we have the fact that we hear donors have come in and said, but we can't give money to two parties that essentially have the same agenda. That made an impact, and to opinion polls that really showed that the DA was not making the kind of headway towards 30% at all that they had been promising, and the polls simultaneously showing that AGANG SA was really not going above 1%, and in fact dwindling to below 1%. So these were two political parties that saw a clever moment around a significant historical moment and tried to reclaim the Mandela legacy and visionary leadership for themselves and breaking new ground. And it all fell so flat. They had the right rhetoric, but absolutely not the events and the developments in relation to the electorate to back it up at all. And they both came seriously short.
Yeah, it came seriously short, but do you think it's going to lose them votes? Do you think that perhaps people that, I think people had a question mark on top of the union from the beginning. Did it dent it enough to take votes away from either political party?
Both of them were not doing that well. So I think what the votes they have at the moment are pretty serious consolidated votes. But there's a huge swing vote out there. All the polls show us that many people will still probably vote ANC, even if they're so-called wavering ANC supporters, and they could swing away what they call the swing vote in these elections. But the chance of the DA, AGANG, even less to capture those, has really dwindled significantly. So they've really done a lot of damage to themselves. Credibility has failed.
Credibility has failed. I like that. Now let's talk about today. What's going to be happening is this walk to Luthuli House. Is this a provocation on behalf of the DA or a political statement? What do you think they're trying to achieve by doing this?
It is certainly, it grabs the headlines if they march. I don't know whether there's been confirmation that they march, or there were suggestions that they may be postponing it. I don't know. I guess we'll see in the course of the day what exactly is happening there. They have been granted permission to to march, and it is in a way provocation. I really believe so. I don't think political parties should be marching on one another's head office. It is sensitive territory. People feel provoked, whether it was intended as provocation or not. So it's very volatile. and I really think it should be seriously reconsidered. Certainly they want to make the point about job creation and ANC that has got promises of 6 million opportunities rather than real jobs. That point can be made better and less controversially, and with less of a memory of roughly 2 years ago, the march on Kosatu House that really didn't go well, and even it brings out memories of the 1994 IFP march on the Shell House. So in that kind of volatile context, I really don't think it's very well considered to even consider marching.
Yeah, even consider marching, but also the protection from the police as well. I mean, that's an issue, especially after what we saw happening in Nkandla with the EFF. It almost appears that there's almost an intolerance for political parties in South Africa, for members of other political parties.
There's a safe zone in which tolerance is fantastic, but step slightly over that line in the sand, and I think marching on another party's head office is stepping over that line in the sand. That opens a different world where people feel they have to defend this territory. It's almost invading. I know Jackson Timber from the ANC has used the word invading Luthuli House. Not that, but people really experience that zone around the political party head office as sacred territory.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Political analyst and senior lecturer at Wits University, Professor Susan Booysen, talking to us about this political landscape we're finding ourselves in ahead of the